We're just waiting for a couple of stragglers to come in at the back. This afternoon when we finish, we have got drinks on here. They're courtesy of Stewie, so please feel free to have whatever is a responsible amount of alcohol on his account, because he's done very well over the last year with all of our investment projects that we've had. And we have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 presentations to get through this afternoon. I don't say to get through, to listen to and be interested in this afternoon. And I know a couple of you have had some highlights that we've talked about already, and I'm sure there'll be a couple more as we go along as well.
inside the nursery to see the local flora.
From that community, and we also have invested in that community through building infrastructure at schools, buying equipment for schools and football teams, as well as doing training in the community around the environmental work that we have done at site. We also take the social responsibility very seriously. As I said, we're quite close to a small town. We have been actively involved in that town in a positive way, not only hiring staff and providing to the local economy, but being involved in the schools and roads. Tombador was actually recently recognised by the Superintendency for the Development of the Northeast. That's the acronym for that is SUDEEN. It's basically a tax benefit. You can't just get that without showing what you've been doing. So we were actually recognised as contributing to jobs and income in Centro-Sé, Brazil, so in the northeast of Brazil, which is a lower income area of Brazil, and really making a positive impact there. That actually also equates to a positive impact for the company, because that reduces our income tax by 75%. So it takes our overall tax in country from around 34% to around 15.75%. So you don't just automatically get that, obviously. You do have to do a rigorous application to show that you are making a positive impact in the community. It's very, very important for us to keep people safe at work, as it should be for every mining company, and also on the road, because we have a lot of trucks going to port with our product. So you can see our daily meetings on safety in the top of the screen. You can also see on the bottom right of the screen, this was our road campaign. So we were ensuring that the local community was driving safely, so that it's not only our truck drivers that we have to be aware of, but also others on the road. So we worked with the local government to do road safety campaigns, and we've also maintained the roads to ensure that we are not damaging the roads, and there's better road conditions for our trucks as well as the population. And as I mentioned before, we've partnered with local schools and community organisations. We've done educational webinars, we've constructed and installed facilities, and we've worked with sporting companies, sporting teams, the schools, and also promoted cultural events in the nearby town. This is the project itself. So this is a rendered image of the mine site. So we actually use a lot of drone technology to track the mine. We fly over on a very regular basis and use that to monitor site activity, how we're going against our PFS, how the stockpiles are going. We use that for audit purposes for our stockpiles and everything like that as well. And it also gives the team in Perth and the board and management in Western Australia a great opportunity to see what's happening on the mine site. It's used quite significantly on site as well to track what's happening. So importantly, on site, we use a very well-regarded contractor for all of our operations at site, including the processing itself, as well as the blast and drill. It's a very, very simple mining operation. So you can see number one there, that's the open cut at the moment. It's a very simple drill and blast operation. We put that into trucks, and we do a short waste and ROM haul. So we have waste go separately to a beneficiation area of our stockpile that we are stockpiling for later possible beneficiation, and we're studying the feasibility of that at this time. So we should have more information about that in the coming months. The ROM heads to number 3 there, which is our crushing and screening plant, completely dry process, as I mentioned. It then gets split into different product stockpiles, depending on whether it's lump, fines, the quality, and they're monitored, as I mentioned. And then lastly, we have our road truck loading area at number 5. So we either load at the mine gate for Brazil customers, local customers, which I'll go through in a minute, or we load our trucks that we have with our logistics partner. So again, we use a trucking operator, a contractor, to ship to port where we will be selling to the export market. So it's a very, very simple operation that we have. lost my little thingy, found it. So yes, we've got a low strip ratio as a result, and also a short haul from the site to the processing area, which all results in us being able to control the costs within the mine to a very low manageable level. Okay, so as I mentioned before, in June 2022, we were very excited that the plant capacity was tested up to the full production of 100,000 tonnes per month as dictated by our PFS. So that was, you know, a tick in the box in terms of knowing that our production level can be maintained at that you know, theoretical level that was in the study. Since we have started production, we've just hit over 1.1 million tonnes produced through the project. You can see how simple the project is on the right-hand side there. What I'd highlight from this slide is that at the moment, what we are doing is we've got the production capacity, but because it's able to be flexible, we do align that at the moment with sales volume and growth. So we're balancing running at full production versus where our sales are and maintaining a balance there. So if we do have excess capacity, i.e. we've got more production than sales, we've been using that in the last few months to do maintenance on the site, and also we've been doing we've been using a new cutback area, so doing some waste stripping and setting up for future performance and cutting new areas based on our PFS and our mine plan that we released recently to market. Looking now at sales performance, we've sold around 606,000 wet metric tonnes in the project up to the 30th of September 2022. 2/3 of those sales have been facilitated by our marketing partner, our offtake partner, Trafigura, and exported from port to the European market. Now, with the European market, the last 12 months has seen decade-high dry bulk freight rates, an energy crisis with the war in Ukraine, and also market disruption in Europe, all of which affect obviously our export market because we are delivering to Europe. As a result, in November 2021, the board and the company informed the market that we would manage sales to market conditions rather than production capacity. This is all about protecting the reserve, the resource we have. We are a smaller mine. We want to make sure that we maximise shareholder return for the product that we have. So we matched the sales to market conditions rather than selling everything we produce potentially at a lower margin. So the key focus in the meantime has been shortening the distance to clients, which has meant focusing on the local market and Brazil's steel mills while the European situation continues to be monitored by the company. And what we've been doing is to build the sales opportunity in Brazil so that we can move more and more towards matching that production number that we know that we can achieve, which is 100,000 per month. So the reason I talk a lot about the internal market is because it's a very, very strong domestic market. This chart here shows the growth in the Brazil steel industry over the last 50 years. You can see significant growth on each decade, up to 36 million tonne in 2021. Now, to produce 36 million tonne of steel, you actually need more iron ore to produce that much steel. So you can see there that, obviously it's a huge market. We're a small operator. We have, we're putting 1.1 million tonne at full production into the market per year. So what we're looking to do is really get into that domestic market, because often they pick up at the sales gate, which is obviously very helpful for us in terms of logistics. And what we've been doing to focus on that is to work, and we have been doing this since we went into production in May 2021, is to work on the procurement steps through the Brazilian market. So we worked with the steel mills to do your KYC. We then send a couple of 100 kilos of sample tests, and we've done that to multiple steel mills in the last year. Then the companies work together, so us and the steel mill work together on logistics, how we'll get the product to their site. Then they do a larger industrial test of 5,000 to 10,000 tonnes, followed by a site visit. Then they start getting repeat orders in order to fit our product into their processes and make sure it fits their processes. And then the ultimate goal is to have 2 to 3 or even more Brazilian steel mills that are giving us long-term repetitive orders. So we are quite a way through the process with several steel mills in that scenario. It does take up to 12 months or more to go through that whole period. So it is a key focus for the company. We started doing that a while ago. So we're moving through that stage. I'm going to hurry up now. This is just some excellent chemistry. It's arguably the best in the world on sale at the moment, according to our offtake partner, and it has very low levels of minor elements and deleterious elements as well. And importantly, it's year-round availability. We're in a very dry, arid area. We don't suffer from floods. It's actually very similar type of conditions to the Pilbara. We did mention a little bit about the performance. We just released our annual report, and we were very proud to have announced our maiden dividend at around 15% yield at the time, that pays at the end of October. And one more thing that I'll point out that's very important is we have $9.8 million of inventory sitting at the mine at cost value, waiting for those market conditions to be right for us to sell into both the export and internal markets in Brazil. This is our very strong team that delivered the project and is now focusing on the sales. And that is our corporate summary. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Abby. Okay, so no one's sneaking up the side. So just to reiterate the playing rules, but Abby was first, so I go soft on Abby. So I'll ring the bell at 2 minutes. I'll stand up at 1 minute and I'll come and stand next to you, and not in a loving way in the last and dying seconds of your presentation. But you keep eye contact with the people and keep smiling and you'll be okay. Right, this next fellow here, he's smiling for all the right reasons. Lots of things happening in his world. Capital raising, there's been trading halts, there's been $3.4 million deals with Canadians, there's been firm commitments to equity placing, strengthening balancing sheets. Our next presenter has certainly been very, very busy. So we're talking Larvotto Resources. They're focused on discovering multiple in-demand commodities, including copper, gold, cobalt, lithium, all of them in Tier 1 jurisdictions. So this is Managing Director Rod Heeks, and I'd like you to welcome him, please, as he discusses the potential of 3 of their key projects and perhaps more. Please make him welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here, and thanks for the preso. Talking today about Larvotto Resources. We're a new listing. We listed late last year, December, so we're only very young, but focused on copper gold. But as Barry Fitzgerald wrote an article about us a while back, with every share you get 3 steak knives, because we're coming across lots of other things in the way of PGEs, lithium, and even rare earths on some of our projects. So it's an interesting company. It's early days, but we've already done our first investment raise, which went very, very well. Where are we based? We're looking at projects in Western Australia, Queensland, and North Island, New Zealand. So Tier 1 locations in Tier 1 commodities. Our lead project, Mount Isa, very, very interesting project. Reminds me of Kalgoorlie back in the early 80s, late 70s. Targets all over the place. Owakuri in New Zealand, very, very interesting epithermal gold project that's coming along quite well. We've actually got a geophysics team out there at the moment, and the results from that are looking pretty interesting, but I didn't tell you that. And at Air, it's the project that just keeps on giving, really, and we'll have a good look at that. It's prospective for more things than I think I've ever looked for on any given project. Corporately, we've got 2 grumpy old men on the board, and Anna, who is an extremely experienced non-executive and also corporate player, and a very good team, well experienced. We've all done this before, and looking forward to getting into it. As you can see there, cash at bank 3.4 in June. That's quite out of date as we speak, but I'll talk about that more, but we can't put those numbers in at this point. So what has recently happened, and this was last week, we had a 3.4 million investment from a Canadian royalty group, Waratah, who came in to take a 1% royalty on our lithium project. This is a very, very early stage grassroots exploration project in Norseman. It's been a great endorsement that they're willing to come in at this point. It was a deal that was too good to knock back. It certainly was a project where we didn't have enough funding in our initial budget to give it the love that it requires. So to have them come in to help us with that one was was excellent, especially such high risk point. On the back of that, we did a $2 million placement that was open and closed within about an hour, which was also a great endorsement. So that's really cashed us up. We've basically raised $13 million since last year. So we're now fully funded and still with all projects in play. Looking at Mount Isa, it's our lead project. Copper gold, certainly a lot of cobalt floating around the area. Amazing area, 900 square k's directly east of Mount Isa. You're basically on the ground 20 minutes after you leave the airport, so logistically quite good. It's an amazing area, as I say. It reminds me of Kalgoorlie. On this whole tenement package, there's probably 40 different prospect areas with workings on them, and in the whole area, there's probably about 30 drill holes. So there's a huge amount of work to do here. Prioritising what we do is easily one of the hardest problems for us. And the other problem, I must admit, certainly this year has been rainfall. It just doesn't seem to want to stop raining in Queensland, and that's made life a little bit tricky for us. But amazing project. We're getting a lot of neurology around here. We've got Carnaby and others working south of us, the Austral north of us. There's more news coming out of this area every week now than what there was every year a few years ago, as people getting on the ground and finding things. So amazing area. We've just finished the drill program there. We don't have results. That's our first drill program. We got halfway through it, unfortunately, and it started to rain. We had a couple of inches of rain, so that made life pretty difficult to finish it off. But we're going to try and get back up there and finish that one off before the end of the year if we can. Targets all over the place. I'll just give you a quick run through on a couple of them just to get you a feel for it. The area that's probably got more drilling than everything else put together is where we went first. It was also logistically the easiest place for us to go. We had a great EM anomaly sitting under this area. There's a lot of shallow drilling that seems to be offset from the EM target. Some nice hits in there. Not all of these holes were assayed for cobalt, but as you can see, there's a little bit there. We find as we move further north in the tenement package, we get more and more cobalt. There tends to be more gold to the south, and you'll see some quite good gold credits in there as well. So looking forward to these results. As another example of an area, big geochem anomaly, over 4 kilometres long. It's got a drill hole about every kilometre along it. Every drill hole is mineralised. It's got a very strong coincident VTEM anomaly sitting over the top of it as well. So it's a very, very prospective area. We haven't been able to get on the ground up that way yet, but we're looking forward to doing that in our next phase of operations. And finally, just as another example, this is more an iron oxide copper gold system at Ballara Saddle. This is my personal favourite, to be quite honest. Some amazing trenching work done over here. It's an outcropping system. There's no soil cover here, so it's all outcropping. And trenches of 15 metres at 6, 10 at 5, things like that. No other work's been done here. There's been no geophysics done over here. There's been no drilling done. We're looking forward to getting an IP crew in there. We've been trying to get an IP crew in for about 4 months now, but can't get them free. But we're seeing a lot of good news come out of iron oxide gold systems up around this area by our neighbours to the south, as they're using IP geophysics to identify these things. And they don't stand out with VTEM, which has been the traditional way of doing it. So lots of targets up there and a lot of work to go. Owakuri, very interesting epithermal gold project, North Island of New Zealand. It's about 50 k's west of Rodda. It's had 10,000 metres of drilling done on it. It's hit some incredibly wide zones of mineralisation, unlike anything I've seen in a porphyry copper, 200 metres, 0.4, that sort of thing, over a very big area. And if you sort of multiply out 2 kilometres long by 1 kilometre wide by 200 metres deep at 0.3, 0.4, that's the number I'm not allowed to multiply out for you, but it's a huge amount of gold. So there's a lot of gold in this system. What we're looking for is where that gold came from. And I'd like to walk you through why we think it's so prospective. The area itself was targeted nearly 40 years ago now from airborne geophysics. It's a very, very similar signature to Waihi, which is you see on the right there. Waihi's been a fantastic producer for Newmont early on, and now Oceana Gold. So people thought that looks interesting. Let's go there and do some rock chip and work. And they did some geochem. And the interesting thing is the whole area is covered by 5 metres of volcanic ash, and this ash is about 800 years old, so it's very, very, very young. So the creeks have cut through it, but nothing else. All the geochem did was really highlight that the creeks, which have cut through the ash, have got mineralisation in them, so it's pretty interesting. No other work was really done apart from that. So people said, let's follow up the geochem instead of thinking, well, what happens in the area where the ash is? So they went out, drilled the geochemistry. You can see the drill holes there. They're all aligned to follow up the geochem, which was following up the creek. So basically they drilled the creek, hit these really, really wide intersections, but didn't hit anything more mineralized. This was about 3 companies later and about 15 years on. The project sat there for a long time and somebody thought, well, what else are we going to do? They did a bit more geochem, that didn't work. And then finally there was a bit of geophysics done. And a summary of everything that's happened there now is that the geophysics has highlighted that there's a deep source to the system and that there's a feeder zone coming up towards the top, and nearly all of the drilling is either parallel to that zone or not near it. The geophysics that was done here, and this is eScan IP, resistivity, very wide space, 300 metre wide space, so not accurate enough for us to go and put a rig on. We've got a geophysics crew out now doing some really detailed stuff to identify the feeder zones to what's going on. If you have a look at the classic epithermal model that you see everywhere, you get a deep source. As you can see on the left, you get a feeder zone coming to the surface, you get a sinter sitting at the top. We've got the deep source, we can see the feeder zones, we've got the sinter at the top. We would expect the high-grade area of this system to be sitting somewhere around about 150 metres below surface. So you're looking at an underground operation a la Wahi, which is the perfect thing for what you want in that part of the world. So it's a very, very interesting system. We're not going to die wondering on this one. The geophysics is probably going to point to where we should drill, and a couple of drill holes are going to tell us whether we're in the system. Being an epithermal, from there on, it's going to be a bit of a slug out and drilling it out. They do take a lot of work to get there, but they tend to be extremely nice high-grade producers. It's a fascinating project in a part of the world that's very easy to operate. The project that's getting most interest for us at the moment is Eyre in Western Australia. It's just east of Norseman, 680 square kilometres of ground, so it's a big area of ground. It just keeps on giving. It really hasn't been explored. There's no serious drill holes apart from one deeper diamond hole done by Western Mining back in the 60s on Mount Norcott, drilling the Jimbalana Dyke. Neurology is going quite crazy here for us at the moment. We've got Liontown's deposit just north of us at Baldania. Galileo have been having huge success on the Jimbalana Dyke, and we've got about 40 kilometres of the Jimbalana Dyke and its widest area. There's a lot going on in the Albany-Fraser terrain, which in this image of the purple rocks down at the south of us for rare earths. So we've got a bit of that. What have we found so far? We've got a really good nickel-copper anomaly, which is probably associated with PGEs on the Jimbalana Dyke. We need to follow that up. We've got a lithium anomaly. We've got a lot of pegmatite float. As you can see from the rocks there, they're directly related to the Baldania ones on the other side of the dike. So very prospective. That's what Waratah has invested $3.5 million in. And also very recently, we've got a rare earth anomaly. Everybody does, but this is quite a good one. Like a lot of the other ones in the area, it was found by Anglo many, many years ago in a large regional geochem program. And we've got up to 1,600 ppm rare earths in soils on that. So that's a really interesting anomaly. So this is a project that just keeps on giving. There's bound to be perspective for gold because most things are around there. So a lot of work to do here, and the new funding that's come in is really going to allow us to, work this one through as much as we can. Breaking that down, you can see there the lithium anomaly down on the bottom right. The rocks come through from the Liontown deposit to the north, the Jimbalana Dyke, which is a much later thing that cuts through. Takes that bit out, and then we continue on there. As I say, we do have outcropping pegmatites, very low. They're not sticking out of the ground like the Baldania ones are. Most of the area is covered by a thin layer of transported soil, so our geochem is working at considerably lower levels than what you're seeing in some other areas, but still highlighting the zones. So we're looking forward to getting out, and this is at RAB drilling stage, and that's our next phase of exploration on that. There's also Newmont's old geochem up there on the nickel and copper, and we followed that up and found a really quite nice anomaly with good numbers on it. We then extended that survey out. So we've now got 2 extremely strong nickel anomalies in that area. We've just finished geophysics over one of those areas, and we've now got a coincident fixed loop EM anomaly over that. So we've got good geochem, good geophysics, and we look forward to pushing that along and hopefully replicating some of the stuff that you're seeing in our neighbours' work. Further to the south, the lithium, which is really what everybody wants to talk about at the moment. Some very strong but low order lithium anomalies tying very well with geophysics. Our rocks are identical to the rocks on the other side of the road. Everything's sitting in alignment, so we're really quite hopeful that something comes out of that. The anomalies are concise, but also staggered by topography and the effects of transported soils in the area. So that's something that we look forward to following up. And finally, the rare earths, which has just popped up, very strong rare earth anomaly associated with radiometrics, thorium radiometrics. This is interesting. We've got a large anomaly to the south and also one adjacent to where we're looking for lithium, and that came up through our lithium work. We weren't really looking for it, but it came through on the assay, so we'll take that. But the one down to the south in the Albany-Fraser train looks very, very interesting. So a lot of work to be done. The project just keeps giving, as I say, well and truly cashed up again now and ready to hit the ground. We've got the team, we've got the cash, and we've got the projects. We're in good locations. And as Barry Fitz so well put, there really is 3 steak knives. Copper gold's our focus, but there's a very good chance of getting a few other things on the way through. Thank you.
All right. There's quite a few other things that are opportunistic there by the sounds of it. Fantastic projects. Sam Rodda, can you come and join us, please, sir? Whip yourself up here with your young feet. Now, this is the Managing Director and CEO of Podium Minerals, and they're here today to provide an update on the Parkes Reef PGM project pathway through to production. And why are you looking so happy?
Because it's Australia's most exciting PGM project, Chris.
This is correct. What else can you tell me? A suite of highly critical, valuable minerals, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
we tick every buzzword that we've heard in the last 2 days.
Go for it.
All in one project.
You've got 15 minutes to pack it in. Can you make
Perfect.
them very welcome, everyone?
Thanks, Chrissy. And it is good to be here. It's, you know, we've heard enough buzzwords over the last couple of days, and if you want to roll them into one project and one commodity, absolutely. Podium and Parkes Reef project ticks the boxes, and I jotted some of them down. It really is precious metals. So if you're looking for precious metals, tick. It is green metals. It is absolutely a big supporter around cleaning nitrous oxides out of existing vehicles, and also a big lever towards green hydrogen and hydrogen fuel cell cars, and a supporter of hybrid fuel cars. It is a critical mineral, and it's, you know, I think really ready to be placed going forward. So it's a great opportunity to come up. We've seen PGEs and PGMs start to get a bit of momentum, particularly in the exploration space. Now, Podium's been listed since 2018. We've started with a PGM project, but we're ready to move into what it looks like from a project evaluation and into a development phase moving forward. We've got the paper on the website, so please run through the disclaimer, and it's really a good opportunity to talk around what makes us special. It starts with the ore body. So the ore body for me was the greatest attraction after 20 years in operations, operational development, project development in mid and top tier miners, and a chance to jump on board and take a company and a project in a new commodity in Australia through to operation. And I think we've got the opportunity to do it here. 3 million ounces currently in inferred resource at 1.6 grams per tonne, a 15-metre wide ore body, which is significant when considering some of our South African PGM peers. And some of you would have seen the photos mining in, 1 metre labour intensive places as well. So 15 metres for a vertical ore body is absolutely set up for Australian mechanised mining. We've got an exploration target which has been fully drilled out this year, and pending an update to the mineral resource shortly, has the ability to significantly grow our resource and grow it down to about 250 metres depth. We're in the right commodities. We've been able to build the right team, which isn't just focused around adding ounces for the sake of adding ounces. It's about adding value to the project at the right point in time. And doing it on a parcel of land in the Midwest, which is really going to enable that project development in consultation with our traditional owners, with our station owners, with local shires and the Midwest community. PGMs, I'll do a quick little space. PGMs, PGEs for the audience, relatively interchangeable. Nominally, it's a mix of 6 different metals: platinum, palladium, rhodium, iridium, ruthenium and osmium. The Australian market also includes gold. We've got 5 of those which we think are potentially economic. So platinum and palladium, which I'll talk about later, rhodium, iridium, which are high value and significantly precious metals globally. So you're talking about global production, somewhere between 7 to 20 tonnes of rhodium and iridium production globally. So it truly is a rare metal and high value. The catalytic properties really enable them to be critical around electrolyzers in green hydrogen, fuel cells, as well as the catalytic converters moving forward. We spoke about critical minerals. You know, it sits on sort of every global critical minerals list. And if you look at the table in the bottom right, and you can look at it in your leisure later, it sits everywhere. Yet the world's production is controlled by South Africa, a little bit into Zimbabwe, and significantly as a byproduct out of Russia, associated with the nickel and predominantly Norilsk. So 2 jurisdictions, Russia, which not a lot of people want to source their raw metals and materials from, South Africa, which is a well-established PGM producer, but now with mines which are getting significantly deeper, grades are getting lower, infrastructure is getting older, and with power interruptions. So it's getting more challenging in South Africa. WA and Australia is absolutely primed to start carving out a niche, and we think Podium's right at the forefront of that moving forward. So for us, where are we? We're about 80 kilometres west of Meekatharra, so up in the Midwest. For those which heard John speak earlier around Phoenix, we're just over the range from them, West Gold in around the area. So, you know, a well understood section of WA and well supporting for a mining operation. We have granted mining leases. We've got a granted native title agreement in place as well. So as we continue to understand and develop our studies for the project, we're ready to go moving forward. The ore body. Now this is a bit to take in. Usually when you see these maps, you're looking at sort of aeromagnetics, you're looking at prospective areas. This is 15 kilometres drilled and proven from an ore body. It's near surface, so we're under about 5 to 6 metres of alluvial soil. To give you a bit of perspective, a typical mining operation in Australia, both open pit and underground, is somewhere around the range of 2 to 2.5 kilometres in strike. And we've got 15 kilometres proven, continuous, and continuous both grades and in widths moving forward. So the opportunity here is to really parcel it up and target where do we go first. Really splitting it into 6, 7 or 8 different mining jurisdictions in that same ore body. So, you know, huge potential to leverage off of. 3 million ounces, as I mentioned, really with recent assays, we're really looking to hone in on where those wider zones are, as well as better understanding where our high grade zones are. We've had a number of hits over the years, which sit well plus of 3 grams per tonne, which is more typical to a South African PGM operation. And we think we know where those are, and we're looking forward to being able to model and print those out in the next couple of weeks, or hopefully even next week around a resource update. So it's pretty exciting for us. What does it look like? So 15 k's long, it's steeply dipping, it's pretty bloody continuous, 15 metres wide. We've got a handful of holes down to 500 metres, which we drilled at the end of last year. And finished off early this year, which all hit the reef within a couple of metres of projection. So with the best part of almost 300 holes through the reef, we've got a greater than 90% success rate in hitting the reef. So pretty good conversion from an exploration space, which really sets us up for growth and development moving forward. So huge success in our exploration programs to date, giving us confidence that when we need, we think we'll be able to really add even more significant ounces than what we've reported recently. Mining. So from a conceptual space, because it is near surface and it is steeply dipping, we're absolutely looking at the opportunity for early access to the ore in the open pit and transitioning down to an underground mine for a life of mine considerations. And with a steeply dipping ore body, it alludes itself to having a lower dilution and maintaining higher grades. Having higher grades both in the hanging wall and footwall side allows us, should we need, to do selective mining, but we've also got the opportunity to do some bulk long hole stoping mining akin to some of our base metal and gold miners in WA and more broadly across Australia. Processing. So what does processing look like? And this is one of the challenges us, along with the rest of PGM operators and explorers in Australia, need to unlock. The traditional path is absolutely around taking our PGM sulfides, developing a sulfide concentrate predominantly through our sulfide ore, and then having that as a saleable item to smelters. Currently, it's internationally. There are not PGM smelters in Australia. That's good, that's exciting. Our cider tests and preliminary tests absolutely get us in the range of expected recoveries against peers, as well as concentrate grades of a saleable nature. But we think there's more value to be had through looking at downstream processing. And downstream processing for us is not really targeting a PGM smelter in this day and age. It's looking at a small, scalable atmospheric leach and really looking to see if we can bypass the smelter step and focus around upgrading our concentrate and or direct feed both our oxide and sulfide ore to produce a high-grade product, so akin to a PGM salt or resin, which is lower volume, so lower cost ex mine gate, higher payabilities straight through to the refineries, and really opens up our opportunities to feed into Europe, South Africa, and the rest of the world in that space. So we're pretty excited by the early tests and look forward to being able to share some of that data before the end of the year. Project timeline. So we've got a lot coming. So what does it look like? Towards the end of this year, we'll do some of our pre-scoping study work internally. We'll release our resource upgrade shortly, and we'll really give that first update around our met test work, which, as I said, is exciting with a view to what the final product spec looks like for Parkes Reef's PGM products. We'll then roll into what our scoping study looks like and kickstart our pre-feasibility towards the end of 2023. The scoping study will best inform where our infill drilling comes. So being able to transfer our inferred resource into indicated to enable ore reserves, but also to identify where we think the growth drilling will come or where we need to focus our growth drilling for the Parkes Reef project. Just a snapshot around our ore body. So we've got what we call the 5-element PGMs: platinum, palladium, rhodium and iridium, and gold. Platinum and palladium for us and our ore body, as I said, very akin to the South African style Merensky UG2 type ore bodies with relatively a 50-50% split. Small by volume, rhodium and iridium, but I think circa today's market and the last few months market, rhodium's $14,000 an ounce and continues to sit around there plus. So it only takes a small volume to add significant value to this project. As a side space, having nickel, cobalt and copper is pretty handy as a byproduct as well, and early met testing suggests they are absolutely recoverable both in our sulfide flotation but also around our atmospheric leach as well. So a suite of 8 metals, which is pretty exciting, and for us it's really around optimising that product suite moving forward. The team's ultra important. So from an executive team, absolutely, we've handpicked people who've got experience across geology, mining, processing, metallurgy, operations, projects. Every one of our team, from an executive piece and a senior leadership piece, has run operations at a senior manager or general manager level. They've been in technical excellence discipline in Australia and overseas, optimising operating projects, and they've really got that value perspective in space with every piece of work we're doing. The board, which has absolutely been stable through the last 4 years, has been able to add Kathy Moises from a commercial background, but also Rod Baxter to the board recently. And Rod, I think, well known in WA, but prior to that, a number of years with Anglo Platinum as a technical director. So we've got PGM and operation experience. From a cash flow, 5 million in the bank, 45 million market cap, cashed up now to run through the scoping study to continue to add value to the project. But at 45 million, lots of opportunity on the table to be at the forefront of the PGM market going forward. An ore body which is significant, just both by size, scale, growth, and high grade, really sets us up to lead from the front in this area. And a clear pathway to production moving forward enables us to focus on what value looks like, not just in the short term, but in the medium and long term at the forefront of carving this out with our peers in WA moving forward in the next few years. So come and see me. I'm around both tonight, tomorrow morning out in the marquee. I'm happy to talk around both PGMs and Podium Parks Reef forever and a day. It's something I'm passionate about from a project perspective, value perspective, and I think it really is a commodity in Australia which is ready and poised to run. So thank you. Thanks, Chrissy. Thanks all.
Thanks very much, Sam. We have 2 presentations to go this afternoon, 2 presentations to listen to drink in before we get to the drinks. And this gentleman is going to come up and share the second last one with us. This is Brendan Bradley. Brendan is the Managing Director of DevEx Resources, and we're sticking with one of those buzzwords that we've heard about today. Terry, uranium, mate, uranium. It's going to power what it is that you do to get that lithium out of the ground for a little while, isn't it? So DevEx Resources has high impact exploration programs underway, and they're targeting high grade uranium in the Northern Territory, copper gold in New South Wales, Lachlan Ford Belt, and also there's a nickel copper PGE in the Julimar province here in WA. So to tell us more, would you please welcome DevEx MD Brendan Bradley.
Thanks, Chrissy, and thank you to everyone for being here on a Thursday afternoon. My name is Brendan Bradley. I'm the Managing Director of DevEx Resources. This is our usual disclaimer, which I urge you to read at your own leisure. This presentation has been uploaded on the ASX platform today, so you're welcome to go check it out or see me after this presentation today. So DevEx Resources is in the mineral discovery business. Our core goal is to deliver discovery drill holes for our shareholders. To achieve this, we've brought together a portfolio of high-quality exploration projects located in several of Australia's most sought-after exploration regions. Whether in Western Australia, where we're exploring for nickel-copper PGE mineralisation directly north of Chalice Mining's recent Gonaville massive nickel-copper PGE zone that they've been defining resources of recently, or over in New South Wales, where we're exploring for porphyry copper-gold deposits in Australia's porphyry copper-gold heartland, the Macquarie Arc. We've been recently drilling this year and we're starting to define quite a large copper gold system there. We're seeing gold near surface and likewise a broadening copper anomaly to the south, moving to the south. Naturally, the focus right now is on our Nabarlek uranium project in the Northern Territory. We are very active up there right now. We've got 2 rigs drilling there and we're delivering results. We've been pretty keen on this project for a very long time, and we've been keen to get out there with the rigs, and we've been drilling there with some recent results, including over 10 meters at 1% uranium equivalent. We're cutting the core. It's gone to the labs. We're waiting for the results, but we're doing downhole borehole wireline, converting it to uranium equivalent. So I'll talk you through these projects as we go. We're supported by a strong board, naturally headed up by our chairman, and major shareholder, Tim Gordon. Many people know Tim already. They know what he's about. They've seen his success stories through his involvement with Chalice Mining and Liontown Resources. They know Tim is an avid enthusiast backing up the companies that he supports. And DevEx is very much firmly on Tim's mind right now with the exploration activities we're doing. Myself, I'm a geologist by trade, been involved in the mineral exploration business for a long time, right through to resource development to mining. But key to us is DevEx has got the support to be able to maintain a momentum of drilling. You don't make discoveries without drilling holes, and you don't drill holes without having a good cash backing. And we've got $20 million in the bank as of last quarter. We're spending it on drill holes. We're focused on drilling these projects, and we're starting to see some pretty exciting results. So starting in the Northern Territory and also highlighting several other projects, as I mentioned before, DevEx is actively exploring for high-grade uranium in the Alligator Rivers uranium province. This province is not called a uranium province without good measure. Over 500 million pounds of uranium has been either mined or defined in current resources from this region. This is an incredibly well-endowed uranium province. It's only comparable with the Athabasca Basin in Canada, which 92 Energy mentioned earlier today. Exploration, these two projects, these two basins are the mainstay of high-grade hard rock conventional uranium deposits in the world. Okay, and it sets us apart. And if I can leave you with one take-home message that you can think about from DevEx Resources, I'd love to tell you all about all three projects and what we're doing. But if I can leave you with one message, is the uniqueness of DevEx Resources and what we're doing up here with our uranium exploration. There is an absolute scarcity of uranium explorers out there on the ASX platform. When you look for high-grade uranium explorers exploring in Australia, you can count them on one hand, and you probably only got about 2 fingers and you'd get there. But what I'm saying is that when you look at what's going on in the high-grade uranium scene, there's very little options. Put that into a different commodity, put that into what's buzzing on right now, like lithium exploration and the like, and you've got a lot of good stories out there on lithium exploration, but a lot of good stories. When you look at DevEx and some of the other uranium explorers, you've really only got a handful of opportunities there. So if you're a believer in the uranium price, and you believe that uranium's got a long way to go in the future, there's a limited options out there. And so DevEx sits there, and that's the message when you look at these projects. Yes, we've got to back it up with good projects and good prospects and good drill holes. And that's what we're doing right now. So again, we're busy exploring in that area. We've got granted exploration tenements and a mining lease, which is the Nabarlek mining lease. We're centered on the historical high-grade Nabarlek mine that was mined out in the 80s. It was Australia's highest grade uranium mine, producing 24 million pounds at 1.84% uranium. Significantly high grade. Couldn't emphasize it more. Just the backdrop on the Nabarlek project. You know, the uranium price is there, and there's a photo of Nabarlek in the background. This is brownfields exploration. This is a historical Nabarlek. This is a historical mine at Nabarlek, and it's seen exploration go on and off because of the uranium price. DevEx purchased the Nabarlek mining lease, and they purchased the Nabarlek project back in 2008 and got really going with exploration activities. A lot of drill holes took place after purchase of Nabarlek. A lot of good work was done. A lot of intersects were made, and a lot of work was ready to be done. And then, of course, Fukushima occurred and the uranium price slid away. All of these intercepts were all interesting projects. They all were put on the shelf and left there for quite some time. When I joined the company in 2017, coming into presenting a uranium project, if you ever wanted to clear the room, mention uranium. It's a different story now moving forward to 2022. There is a lot of interest in uranium as we're looking to secure an energy future globally. The shortfall in uranium explorers is profound. So moving forward into 2022, we are busy drilling out there. You can see the snapshot of where we're busy and we're exploring. You can see our exploration camp in the background, massive airstrip sitting there out at Nabarlek, ready for us to use. Our drillers that are working out there right now, they're flying in and out of that airstrip, walking over to the drill rigs, literally. So good infrastructure and good support for exploration to continue out at Nabarlek for the years to come. So just showing you a quick geology map. It's not about the geology. What it is about the prospects. The map you see here is there's the Nabarlek uranium mine that was mined in the 80s, 24 million pounds. What we're busy is exploring all around that area. The granted mining lease that we have is situated there. You can see the airstrip diagrammatically shown. And then all around, all those magenta dots represent drill hole intercepts that are historical through that area. Multiple prospects that we need to follow up. They've all put on the shelf. We've literally just pulled them off and blown the dust off these projects. So the rigs have been out there. We've got 2 rigs and we're moving around these prospects, drilling all these prospects. As far as grade goes, the magenta represents drill hole intercepts greater than 0.1% or 1,000 ppm uranium. Just for those that are uninitiated, again, 1% is like 10,000 ppm uranium, okay? So lots to do, and we've kicked it off with the 2 drilling rigs. So we're starting to see some pretty good results. At Nabarlek South, which is directly south of Nabarlek, naturally, we've been drilling holes into the Nabarlek South deposit. It's located inside of a dolerite. Our early drilling was seeing over 10 meters at 1% uranium from hole number 2. We've followed it up with a lot more holes now, and we're starting to see lots of fractures. The uranium we're seeing is in the fractures around this dolerite. And so not only are we seeing some individual high-grade uranium equivalent results, but also we're seeing broader zones of smaller, thinner, high-grade uranium zones, but overall within 50-meter window grading at, say, for example, 0.3 or 0.2 as per those cross sections. What we can now see with our drilling is we're now starting to define a coherent trend of uranium mineralization in there, and seeing it in the core and seeing it in the fractures. This rock breaks apart really easily. It's near surface. It's very much looks quite close to what we would want to see as far as a near surface deposit. Elsewhere, some of our other prospects, we just got some exciting results back over the weekend from our RC drilling out at the U42 prospect. This is to the north, this is to the northeast of the Nabarlek deposit. And likewise, we've been following up on some historical drilling, which is that cluster of drilling down on the bottom right-hand side. We were drilling some holes, and then once we understood the structure, we started then to step out with some broader space drilling. And so hole 14, which is the bubble box, the yellow bubble box you see there, the RC hole there, just intersected a 2-meter zone of uranium mineralization. Right now, the gamma probe going down there is calculating equivalent grade of about 1.9 meters at 0.4% uranium, including 0.6 meters at about 1% uranium. It's not just about a gamma probe. Naturally, we've got to get it assayed and bring it in, but we can see the uranium anyway in the drill chips. We can see it, we've logged it. You can put the, we've got a handheld XRF. We can go up and zap those drill chips and we can see that there's black, lovely uranium minerals all through that. Bear in mind the scale. It's really important to look at scale. Scale bar 500 meters down there on the bottom left-hand side. This drilling is very broad space. Some people call it wildcat drilling. We knew there was a structure down there and we stepped out on very broad spacings and we were looking to smell what would be in the kitchen, and instead we've opened up the oven door and it looks pretty exciting. Okay, so just at a different scale, a large scale, earlier stage, but nonetheless following up on some very interesting historical results. The Overload prospect on the left-hand side, I've got a comparison to the Nabarlek deposit. So I'm talking about system scale mineralization here. The Nabarlek deposit on the right-hand side, you can see the pit. You can see that lovely red geological color. That's a quartz breccia. That's what was hosting the Nabarlek uranium deposit. You can walk up to that quartz breccia right on the edge of the pit and you can see little bits of uranium, but not much. You can rock chip it and you'd be lucky to get any real grade out of those rock chips. The point I'm making is those quartz breccias are what hosts the uranium mineralization at Nabarlek. When you step out to the southeast at the Overload prospect, there again is another quartz breccia down there. It's orientated exactly the same as Nabarlek. It looks like the same Nabarlek sort of quartz breccia. It's down there. People have already, 30 years ago, people had a go at it. They drilled some holes. They saw pitch blende, which is a uranium mineral, in the actual breccia with their drilling. They got some results, and then, of course, it got shelved. What we're seeing now here is a very large scale, interesting target that we want to go drill. We went out there and we followed up on this geochemical anomaly you see up on the top part of the image. This is a radon anomaly. Those that understand uranium understand that when you take a uranium deposit and you bury it in the ground, uranium decays. As it moves its way, as it decays its way across to becoming lead, it produces radon gas. And what happens is the radon gas, being a gas, comes to the surface. So we inherited a 25,000 radon gas sample data point, just like soil geochemistry, that is able to identify where radon anomalies are. So that anomaly up on the top of that image for Overload shows a very large radon anomaly that's there. Hasn't been drilled by any RC or diamond drill holes. We went out there, I played geologist for the day and went out there with the geopic and we found that quartz breccia trending right into it. Nobody knew about that quartz breccia and yet we went out there and we found it. So yes, we're excited to drill holes into that. Okay, so the last two prospects, and there's the bell. Located in Western Australia, we're very active also exploring it at our nickel copper PG project at Sovereign. We're exploring on the left-hand side under a joint venture earning with ASQ, and on the right, we've got our own tenements. We're located directly north of Chalice's big Julimar discovery, and we've got work to do. We've got to hit the ground running. We've got the right rocks. We've got a 12-kilometre mafic, ultramafic intrusion, and we just need to do more EM, and we've got plans for that in December. In New South Wales, we're busy exploring for porphyry copper gold. This is the who in the zoo. You've got big companies like Katy Ridgeway mining the same sort of porphyry copper gold deposits in the area. Where we are, we've got a large ground holdings, and we've been drilling out there this year, focusing on the Nangus Road prospect, where the drill holes that we drilled this year is now starting to find a large copper gold system. We're seeing gold mineralization almost from 4 meters down with the air core drilling rigs. So this is really close to surface. The drill rigs are now starting to find a broadening copper anomaly, which is on the right-hand side, and on the left is the gold, right? So they're related with each other. It's broadening to the south, and that yellow box indicates where we want to go. So once the ground dries out, and we're hoping December, we plan to get out there with the RC and the diamond rigs and start drilling there as well. So busy times. We've got the war chest. We've got the cash to do the work that we need to do. Naturally, the focus is on uranium right now, but these other prospects are looking pretty good as well. And so we're all about maintaining drill hole momentum and keep going. So busy times for DevEx. Thanks, Chrissy.
We've met, I was just thinking, we have met over the course of the last 2 days, some very excited geologists. It always reminds me when I see fellows like you, you know, your grandfather used to say to you, do something you're passionate at and you're never going to work a day in your life. And I wonder if 10-year-old you had ever expected that you'd be standing over here in front of people saying, yes, we get excited about drilling holes in the ground. We get excited about what you bring out because it could mean something big for our investment portfolio. Now, this next lady, I didn't get a little bio for her, but that's okay. Because no, I didn't. So I went searching for you instead. And I found I had all these really interesting things. I think this is a fantastic way to round up our conference today. Not only is it a wonderful investment opportunity for us, it's already got great street cred in London, all around the world, all sorts of places. It wasn't a company that I'd actually heard a lot about. I heard a lot about the principal, but not the company itself. And then it took me down this little rabbit hole, and I was seeing that $6 billion a year is spent on fighting insomnia, that 236 million people have had COVID. Who's had COVID in this room? Yes, well, most of us now. Long COVID, anyone? Well, there's all these ways of treating it, and one of them may be here, right here in this power-packed woman here. Jo,
Thank you,
who
Chrissy.
back in 2014, she's a health and wellness entrepreneur, and she thought, you know what, I want to sit down, I want to create something. I don't know, actually, I doubt whether you sat down at all from what I've read about you. You're too busy for doing that. So she stood up, she got active, and she said, you know what, I am going to create a healthcare and plant medicines company that is going to help people. And the upshot of it has also made you particularly happy this way. So let's welcome her and see if she can help us out as well. Great way to round out day 2. Jo.
Thank you, Chrissy. I could draw a lot of analogies with drilling, but yeah, we're changing gears a bit and we're talking biotech. And BOD Australia was listed in 2018, and our area of focus is around drug development and product innovation, and the foundation of that is research. So different from an agricultural play, and you may know some, but our area of interest and our area of expertise is around that whole product development. That's not just about the extract, it's also about how we deliver the drug. In terms of our positioning, this is the 5 areas where we believe we bring value for shareholders. The first one is our global pipeline of R&D. We're well invested in clinical trial, but the outcome of that clinical trial is very focused on commercial opportunities. And that doesn't necessarily happen at the end of a clinical trial. Those inflection points can happen along the way as you de-risk it. not dissimilar to drilling. The second point is we have an existing product portfolio. We have two currently commercial operating divisions which underpin our business. The first one is in a medical space, and our products are accessed now through Australia and also in the UK through doctor prescription. And then the other commercial division is what we refer to as CBD healthcare. So that's about other products that you can access over the counter, which you can't at the moment in Australia, but certainly in very large markets like the UK, Europe, and America. We're also in parallel developing a lot of intellectual property around assets. One of the announcements we made today was an international patent that we lodged. This is a 6-year project that we've undertaken, and the discovery is a novel group of proteins that are found in the skin, and it has a protective effect. So we've covered a patent on that. And another example of our intellectual property is an acquisition that we've made in a company or a technology called Aquaphase. It's a product and process technology, and it solves an inherent problem in a lot of drugs, but specifically in cannabis, where it is water hating. And so the amount of drug that can get into your system is limited by its carrier of oil. And this particular product, Aquaphase, has enormous amount of opportunities, both in terms of the consumer healthcare market around beverages, but fundamentally in pharmaceuticals. And effectively, it's all about getting more drug into the system. So it reduces the drug, but increases the therapeutic outcome. And this is incredibly important for, governments and regulatory, but also for patients, and it's reducing cost of medicine. The next one is around, we actually do, as a biotech, we actually have revenue as well from those two commercial operating divisions I touched on. And the final one is we are very focused on commercialisation. And some examples of that is in Australia here, we're doing a Schedule 3 clinical trial at the Woolcock Institute, and it's the leading sleep experts. The product, as Chrissy touched on, is actually in insomnia. Now, we're well down that pathway of that clinical trial. We hope to lodge our dossier with the TGA early next year. And effectively, that means Australian consumers can access this product without a doctor prescription. The next one is Project Aqua, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, actually, in terms of just one of the commercial opportunities we see for that product. But effectively, it's in the US market against a very established company and for the treatment of epilepsy. Quickly on corporate snapshot, we have a very experienced board and executive team with diverse skill sets. 20% of the register is actually held by the board. We have plenty of cash in the bank with, at the end of June was 5.2. Subsequent to that, we've just done a rights issue and a placement. So very well funded and supportive shareholders. Now, this is always an interesting slide in terms of valuation of our peers. So you can see where BOD is positioned. And, when we look at this, we look at, I guess, 4 key areas that we think we add real value and things that are going to fill our news flow in the short term. Some of that is around our clinical trial. So the international patent that we lodged and announced today was part of that clinical trial pipeline that has actually been 5 years in the making. So I sort of feel a lot of the heavy lifting has been done, and our focus really now is on taking those assets and commercialising those. The second one I touched on quickly is the Schedule 3 dossier that we're looking forward to submitting early next year. The third one is this recent acquisition we did on Aquaphase, and it significantly enhances the solubility of CBD. But our remit, of course, is cannabis and optimising that that medicine and looking at therapeutic indications where it can add value. But aquaphase as a drug delivery technology is much greater than that, and actually can be licensed off into other areas and other treatment indications. And then the fourth one, in terms of driving value and near-term milestones, is around our existing sales and global distribution. We already have a very large partner in Health and Happiness Group who license our consumer CBD healthcare products. They're, of course, the parent company of Swiss Vitamins, which you might know, but they're the sort of license deals that we will continue to do with our products and with our assets. Just to give you a bit of a size of the market, these are the 4 areas that we are concentrating on. Insomnia, and again, as Chrissy touched on, very significant market, no matter which way you look at it. These are global opportunities, not just for Australia. Anxiety, anti-aging, and general health and wellness. Each of those markets, no matter how you look at it, is very sizable, and the growth rate is significant. It's around sort of the 25% in each category. And most of our clinical trials or even our patents are aimed at tapping into this market and addressing this market. That just gives you a little bit of snapshot, I'm mindful of time, of our clinical trial pipeline. And what I would suggest here is that a lot of the value that we have done over the last 5 years and invested in here, the value is actually just coming now. Project Skin, the one at the bottom, is what was announced today in terms of the international patent, and that's incredibly exciting as another delivery device which can be applied topically. And the research will show and has shown its anti-aging effect and its ability to protect cells from UV damage. And, you only have to look at Australia in terms of sunscreen and anti-aging and the opportunity just there. Another one is Schedule 3, and another one is, Chrissy spoke about, is long COVID, actually. We don't use THC. I think I should just quickly touch on this. So that's the psychoactive aspect of the plant. We're very focused on CBD for its health benefits, and also what they talk about is other minor cannabinoids. And long COVID, in fact, and it's, the fatigue and the different symptoms associated with that, it's believed that CBD has a really interesting role to play. We're doing a study in the UK, and in fact, the Australian government is actually calling for submissions around treatment options for long COVID. So I'd suggest you can watch this space, but really interesting. In terms of medicinal cannabis, because I know when I talk to people, sometimes they're familiar, and they'll give me a story about, their mother, their father-in-law, etc. And this is happening much more, and much more people are more au fait, and we've got doctors getting on board and getting educated. But I just wanted to show you this, and this just shows you just how big the market is and the areas of treatment that we're seeing. So this was what they call a real-world data study we did. There's 500 patients. And again, it's a full plant extract, high CBD, no THC. And you can see there, I think it was 58% were using it for chronic pain. So there's so many stories I can tell you, and I don't have the luxury of time, but these are really significant medicines that are having massive impact on patients' life, particularly, if you think about chronic pain where they're taking opioids, really changes lives. And taking cannabis that is non-addictive and doesn't have side effects and has applications in this area is really exciting. In terms of our CBD wellness, so this is slightly different, and it's not available in Australia. It's available in Europe. It's complex in terms of its regulatory landscape, but certainly massive in the US market and Europe. And as I touched on, in this commercial division of our business, Swiss and H&H license our consumer products, but we're looking for other partners in sort of high value verticals and specifically skincare and beverages. I mean, we think that you just look at the sports drinks market or the beverage market, you know, these are massive markets, and they're looking at how do I add CBD to these products without changing the integrity of my product, the colour, the taste, etc. And what Aquaphase does, and I probably didn't touch on this enough, is its ability to create a complex that is tasteless, colourless, odorless. So, you know, you can add this to your Pinot, but, you know, importantly, the beverage market is massive. I found out just recently that Red Bull sells 10 million cans a week. So huge opportunities and really exciting. This is some of our products that are in the market at the moment. So Swiss products are all sold through Chemist Warehouse and pretty much every pharmacy throughout Australia. CB2 is their other brand that they sell in the UK, and we've just launched in the US, but that's their CBD specific brand. And as you can see just down there on your right, these are other innovations that we're working on and looking and talking to other partners to license. Just quickly on the Aquaphase acquisition that we most recently did and announced to market, we think this is really significant in terms of its application, both pharma and in the healthcare markets and the beverage market. But effectively what it does is it solves a water-hating compound, and through a product and technology process creates a new complex that presents in a bulk powder that can be added and presented in multiple formats, anything from tablets to capsules to beverages, as I said. It does have a patent protected on it, but also we're looking at sort of opportunities to just look after it from a trade secret perspective, but it does have a patent on it. It's of course, it's unique worldwide. It was some inventors did it out of the UK. He'd been working on it for about 3 years. And this has been part of our work over the last 5 and 6 years to find a delivery format that solves some of these inherent problems in not only cannabis, but a number of medicines that are water-hating or what we call lipophilic. Just one example for Aquaphase, and I touched on a few, but in terms of a commercial opportunity, one of the ones that we're going to explore is this one in the US market. So GW Pharma are the only company that had a registered cannabis product in the world. They sold to Jazz Pharmaceuticals for 7.6 billion. And the cannabis product that was registered is for the treatment of epilepsy in children. It's a very severe form of epilepsy. Because of the way that the CBD works, your own scientific literature will support this. You're only getting about 6 to 8% into the bloodstream. And so you actually have to have a lot to get the therapeutic outcome. And because it's suspended in oil, that has sometimes adverse side effects. Now, if you can present what's called a bioequivalent medicine to the FDA that presents the same product, but in an improved format that reduces, you know, improves therapeutic outcome, reduces side effects, and reduces cost to patient, they're the things that are really important in this market. I think I'm running out of time, but anyway. Very quickly, why invest? You know, as I said, I think we've done all the heavy lifting. I think the commercial opportunities are here and now, and I'm super excited about them. But we've summarised it by 3 things. You know, we already have a really innovative product pipeline, and we're commercialising through our 2 divisions, which is medical and CBD healthcare. We have near-term growth catalysts, not only through the products that are being dispensed now through the Australian market and the UK market, but some of these opportunities with Aquaphase, and world-class technology in terms of Aquaphase, but also the patent that we've just lodged with UTS. Yeah, that's, I think, you didn't give me the bell. Oh, because I'm seeing this thing flash at me going 0, 0.
I've got my team up the back there, and Shane and the rest of it. We kind of know when your slides are coming through, so we know how you're going to time, and you were going to be fine.
Can I just add, Chrissy? I did do a summary, and of course we've loaded it on the ASX platform, so I would encourage you to go have a look and have a read.
So what was that?
Oh, I said, can't you hear me? So I said I loaded it up on the ASX platform and I only did the summary today. So I'd encourage you to go and have a read. Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Chrissy.
I know I've said that to you a dozen times already over the last 2 days, but sometimes for some reason, the way the sound bounces sideways, it can be hard to hear people. Have you enjoyed yourself today? No, it's been really interesting, hasn't it? There's been some real standouts in there, some great potential. And I actually really enjoyed finishing on that. It was a complete change of pace at the end. And some of our medical ones are interesting. We've got 2 more like that tomorrow as well, which will be good. Are you coming back tomorrow at all? Yes? Great. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm slated to come up here at about 10 to 9, but I'm sure pretty close to 9 o'clock we'll kick off. And all things being equal, be finished by about 1. You are more than welcome to come outside and join us for a drink now. But if you've got places to go, we'll understand.